art, music, handcraft, gardening, animal interaction, interacting with nature. What comes to mind when you hear these words? What's the first thing that you thought of? I'm quite sure that many people in corporate management did not think of mental health or stress management when they heard these words. Welcome to Stepping Stones to Excellence, the podcast where we explore life's events and experiences through a Christian worldview. I am your host, Gamu. We will be speaking with Adrienne as she will share about mental health and how the use of arts, crafts, gardening, and even music can be beneficial in a corporate setting as you proactively address issues of mental health and de-stressing in your organization, in your family, and in your church community. Let us take a listen to what she has to say. Sure, you'll find this discussion very insightful. It's wonderful having you here with the opportunity to interact and discuss about mental health, Christian values, and how it all works together, especially for the workforce, especially for people in higher offices who may not see art and mental health and all of that connecting.
Yeah.
So maybe could introduce yourself up front, and then we can go right into the discussion.
Okay. My name is Adrienne Dauphin. I'm living here in Wellington. I studied art counseling in my 40s, and I work for a church and also for a Bible school. I do training in counseling, and then I also have my own practice that I see students and I see working people and I see children, and yes, so I do the whole range from 5 to whoever wants to come and see me. Yeah, so I'm very open to see whoever wants to come and see me. Yeah.
Okay. How have you seen the church approach mental health currently, especially post-COVID-19? How have you seen it transform and maybe become something that's beneficial, that the Christian community and the Christian values have been utilized more in mental health in this post-COVID season?
So the way we approach it as a church is very much, we look at all aspects. So it's not just doing the therapy. We also are open to medication, going to see a psychiatrist or psychologist and doctors. So that's not the only one, but it's very much like a support system for somebody who's struggling, like for the community to be a support. So my part of the healing process is very small. It's more likely there's a whole lot of people that are involved in the caring of a person. It's not just the counselor. It's the community they're working with and those kind of things. We have seen an increase, especially with teenagers. The pandemic was pretty harsh on the teenagers, and especially with social skills and those kind of things. And then we're reaping that in the Bible school at the moment, So teenagers in their formative years, 13s or so, that they were quite isolated with the pandemic, especially here in South Africa, with the way the schools closed down and those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's globally we can really speak about how it challenged children. How would you speak to like an audience of an executive about mental health, especially using like tools that you specifically use, because I'm very interested in those kind of tools. Because while medication is very acceptable, the idea of like animals used in counseling or art or music used in counseling, especially for high-level executive or people in management, to imagine that really this could be part of their proactive way of addressing mental health and relaxation and removing stress in the workplace may not have been so common. So I'd really like you to address that.
Yeah, so with working people that come and see me, I very much look at the holistic way of where the stress is, and then them finding what's their creative, what are their passions, and then working with that. And then so we explore lots of different areas of art, from the crafts to the painting, to maybe crocheting or gardening or those kind of things. And then also really identifying where the stress is on their physicality, on their body. Because I think some people just think they're just stressed, but well, where are you carrying it? And your body is actually trying to tell you, like, where are you carrying it? So do you carry it in your shoulders, in your jaw? Is it headaches, those kind of things? So that's also quite helpful to give people language on, okay, my body's actually telling my stream is like to really start picking up, okay, my body's telling me I'm stressed, and then giving them skills on how do we get it out, how do we release that kind of tension and those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay. I like the fact that you're saying that your focus to oppositional focus is about how, as looking at the Christian worldview, we can still apply science and apply the arts to utilize all things to bring success and bring development and enhancement into the workplace. What is the most challenging thing that you have faced as a counselor, as someone who advocates for mental health, who advocates for developing that kind of sphere in people's individual lives or corporate lives or even in educational fields? Where have you found the most resistance?
I think that they're very happy to come for one or two sessions, and then the follow through sometimes is harder, is to actually make the change. People aren't really, sometimes they have to get to quite a point to actually change. And then it's just following through with the change. I think that's really important to really to keep making good decisions, because we fall into our old habits that have come like a survival mechanism or just to cope, and then just really following through with the change, like really allowing the Lord into those spaces and to keep being dependent on Him. Because I think we get a bit of knowledge and then we become self-reliant again, and then not totally reliant on Him. Yeah. So I think the hardest thing is to see change, to keep the change, because most people come and see me and then they come and see me again maybe 6 months later because they realize they just haven't pushed through, the follow through of seeing it well finished. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So the consistency of it. Yeah, that is, I think walk of faith is consistency, daily applying ourselves, daily growing and daily being fruitful. It's not easy, but it's really, really profound. Now, you spoke about how to address like teenagers. How would parents, Christian parents, what tools do they need to address this issue? And not see that, like, in many instances, especially in the Pentecostal church, people become hypersensitive and see the devil in everything rather than see actually medical issues or emotional issues and recognize them for what they are and how they should be addressed.
Yeah. Okay, that's quite it's a very deep question there. Okay, so you're asking about parents, like how would you help a teenager? Yes. So I think you need to find someone that's like a safe person for the child that they feel like they can go to, because what happens in teenagehood is like they're building identity, and so sometimes parents are saying they're trying to figure out who they are, and then it's creating people that are saying the same thing but are different to their parents. Yeah, so there's kind of like a pulling away in just finding identity. And so it's creating those places for the youth to have, like, for example, my son, he has a youth group. And so it's where he's loved and accepted and part of the group. And the leaders there are saying the same thing I'm saying. They just say it in a different way. So then that helps guide him, because friends become so important as teenagers. So you want to help them to make the correct decision in having the good friends, and a community where he's accepted and loved and acknowledged for what he brings, that he's not just the pastor's son, and then he's supposed to act a certain way or be a certain way, that he actually is seen as who he is and that he has something to bring to the community. Yeah.
Okay. Continuing in leadership, but now looking at corporate leadership, especially like a Christian entrepreneur or maybe a Christian manager, how would they also provide that kind of space where they want to build up an environment, like you're saying, that is open, that is willing to accept people, and that brings about success in their corporation?
I think the most important thing that we learn as counselors, especially listening, I think if you're really being heard, and also that your emotions have been acknowledged, like if it's your frustrations or your if there hasn't been respect or valued or what you bring to the team. So I definitely think like the manager really needs to be able to hear what the individual is saying, because I think if you are being heard, then you realize that your voice is important and that you do want to speak and you do find value in what you bring to the team. So that would be one of my very important things, is listening to your team, to the people that work for. Yeah. And then what are they thinking? What are they bringing? So to acknowledge new ideas and to try new things. So I think that's really important. Just I'm on a board and I have 4 other people on my board, and then just working with what they bring to the table and knowing that I've got their back, that they can do new things and that we can, if it doesn't work, well, at least we tried, so it's not am I going to lose my job? Am I not, that people have your back, that they feel safe. Yeah, you can see I'm a real safe person. You got to feel safe before you do stuff. And then, are they okay? If they're okay, I'm okay. Yes, I very much lead from a place of consensus, making sure people are. And I'm people driven. I'm not task driven. So I need to know that it's okay. And then to realize, what is, how's their health, how's the family, because if those things are stressing them out, then it's hard to give a lot to the work environment. If a family and there's health reasons and those kind of things, and even spiritual things, so really looking at the whole of the person that comes into into the team. Like they know that you know them.
Yeah. What about those who are worried that, well, the people are just going to be hypersensitive, and I don't want to mollycoddle my team, and I don't want to be, as a Christian, be seen as a weak leader because, well, Christians are like doormats, and I don't want to be that. How would you kind of like speak to that particular fear or worry in leadership?
Okay, so you're saying if they're Christian, that they can't be strong? Is that what you're meaning? Like they can't lead?
Not that they can't be strong, but there is a sensitivity in the Christians community, the idea that, well, is it possible for me to actually do this, to be that person who is sensitive, who cares about the environment, without being accused of being hypersensitive or actually letting people get away with stuff?
I think if it's very much acknowledging it. So acknowledging what people are bringing to the table to actually be clear, because I think if you're sensitive, so I acknowledge that I'm very sensitive. So I kind of read quite a lot into what's happening. But then it's out of my own insecurity. So then it's also acknowledging that, this is how I'm reading it. Please can you give me your take, So I think the communication is so vital because I think then you can't presume anything, It's just communicating clearly what are they portraying, like the way you're sitting or the way you speak to me or the tone, those kind of things are really important. And I think also if you're leading the team, even just leading my team, it's very much if you speak with respect, people respect you, Yeah, so I think it's what you come in with, Yeah, coming in with.
I hear you. Now looking at, I really love to focus on the practicality of what you do. How could those practical tools be used in a work environment? The art, the gardening, the nature aspect. I know some organizations have got a space where they just have an environment or greenery around the environment where people can just go and rest. But how else would an organization specifically utilize the skills that you are speaking about that can be proactively used to prevent stress or actually allow people to detox? How would an organization build up that?
So what I've learned from people that have lived with us, they've been part of like software development teams and those things. And so there's a lot of online work. So they would even play online games together and have fun. So they would it's called Jackbox. And there's a whole lot of drawing and jokes and those kind of things. So I know this young guy that lived, who rented a room from us. His team would actually, on a Friday lunchtime, they'd actually play games online because they were all around the world, just as something fun, just to kind of relax and laugh over the works week. So I know some of the teams have done that. And then where we live, it's really beautiful in the winelands here in Wellington. So then they go out for lunches together and actually meet in beautiful spaces, So instead of having a lunch hour on your own, is to actually stop the work and go out in nature and be together and just, there's no other agenda than just being together and rather people forming really good relationships and trust is built through those kind of things. And even within our church life on leadership, we do spend quite a bit of time eating together and just listening to where people are at, you know. Then other things you can do, especially from like an art therapy or art counseling thing. What's amazing with art is it's very much a visual, representation of how you do it. So there's definitely like art therapy techniques to use if you want to build some kind of closeness. But you have to be really, like the team has to know each other really well because it makes you very vulnerable. That would be my concern, is that you need a team that's actually been around, been with each other for quite a while for people to actually want to open up, because sometimes maybe the workplace is not a safe place, you know. But you want to start creating that. So I would do it in stages, just like meals, and building trust slowly, because trust comes, but it does take time. So it would be, for the art therapy, like I have done it in a leadership team in church, but we'd been together for years, you know, for people to really share where they were at. Yeah. But it does take time to build the trust, to be vulnerable, you know, because being vulnerable is scary if you're not used to it. You know, if you're not used to being vulnerable, then it is a place that you need to have people around that can bring the safety in afterwards, because with therapy, especially counseling and those kind of things, it does unpack some of the hurt and the pain of trauma. And I've seen it unpacked not really well, and then the person leaves quite devastated, and then it does more harm than good. Yeah. So it does need to be really well managed and organized, and make sure that if there is somebody that's vulnerable in the group, that they do receive the proper care afterwards.
Okay. So what about in situation you're speaking about the danger of a workplace not being a safe place? So in the beginning, knowing that it's not a safe place, how would a supervisor or a manager or even a CEO plan to start off getting the insurance of mental health in their team, but then gradually building up to vulnerability? Maybe not 100%, because the church community is a long-term community, and workforce may not be that long-term, without worrying about too much expense, because one of the challenges in the workforce is the idea that overspending on human resources and human resources needs may not be profitable. So how would you kind of like address these?
Okay, to create like a safe place, I think you would probably have to do like a questionnaire or something like that, just to feel where people were at, because to go in blind would be quite difficult. I presume, I don't know, so I'm just presuming something here, like a human resource manager would have those kind of skills to even get a human resource person in to kind of do the evaluation of the team, to figure out, you know, where is the weaknesses of the team and those kind of things. But you would have to really plan well, just to create that first, you know, to know where people are at, because you don't want them to then shut down and then they're just there working, you know. It's not, you know, they're not bringing everything to the work environment. So that would be one of is it like you got to figure out where the team is at, and then even to work out where the boundaries are. I think that's super important in like, especially with mental health, like how much days leave is expected, you know, do they take their leave well? do they finish work at the right time, or are they taking work home? Is it affecting their work life? You know, those kind of things. So that would be, you would have to be very clear on what the boundaries of the workspace are to create really good mental health practices, you know. So if you only need to work like 8 to 5, but there's a culture of everybody working until 10 o'clock at night, well, so you say one thing, but, you know, the culture is different, you know. So really to be clear where the boundaries are in the work, home, rest time. Yeah, I think that would be super helpful.
Okay, so let's say an organization has identified its boundaries and maybe also realized through the questionnaire that people feel obligated to do extra when they don't need to do it. And it may not be productive because people are just maybe just there because they are fearful or there's an anxiety level. How would you now as a counselor be able to come in to help people or help the human resources manager to address this?
Okay. It would be interesting to just even do like a very basic group activity to see like you would do kind of like a group therapy type atmosphere, just to see how the group works together, and even just to create anything, you know, like to get a whole lot of art materials, even if it's just paper and pens, and just see the interaction of them with each other, and then even to create something in the group together and see how the team actually works. So it would be quite a observational kind of look at how the team is working together, just making even, I mean, we did a group activity at the beginning of the year in our leadership, and we had to use marshmallows and spaghetti sticks, and we had to create a really tall structure, and then just to see the group dynamics of how the teams work together and who was playing it safe, who were the risk takers and all those things. But it would have to be like observed very carefully of the different personality types, how they communicate and those kind of things. So that would be a helpful thing to start off with. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Addie. I really loved talking to you, and I would really certainly love to have another conversation with you later on at a later stage, possibly during the year. But your input has been really eye-opening, and I hope the listeners will love it. So thank you so much.
Okay. Pleasure, and all the best.
Okay. Bye. God bless.
Bye.